Well, thank you so much, Tufi and Sasha and Jane and the whole crew here. It's amazing. I'm really excited about this. And yeah, YouBase is a great introduction from Todd also because YouBase is really built with security and at the ground up. And our goal is to create richer experiences for with data sovereignty. Data sovereignty is kind of a nice idea, or has been for a long time now. It's really becoming kind of a must-have for all the reasons that Todd mentioned. In order to do that, you need a few things. First, I think you need the underlying architecture that can pull together distributed data, more trustful data, more user-centric data, with distributed ledger technology, or not so distributed. But I don't know what the Tufi's word for it is now. Along with making it easier for developers to integrate and to pull in and build applications, distributed applications around individuals. But finally, you really need to make it worthwhile and usable and exciting to the end users. We're trying to pull in all those bits together. My background is actually in neuroscience. Been working on distributed naturally intelligent systems for a long time. Josh is a phenomenal cryptographer and developer. We're both from Colorado, and we got into this from healthcare, where data sovereignty in healthcare is really life or death. A lot of people can't find their records. Josh came from a company called iTriage, where people, say this quietly, don't necessarily trust their insurance companies. It was bought by Aetna. So they don't want to use these applications that could potentially help them because they don't trust who holds the data. The rest of our team, Eric Topol, some of you may know, well-known, used to run Cleveland Clinic, now runs Scripps Translational Research Institute, also runs the Precision Medicine Initiative, or a big part of it, that's trying to get 100 or 1 million cohorts, 1 million individuals. Sean Owen from Salt Lending, who some of you may know, and Frank Ngari. He's had 5 IPOs before the world of ICOs, and all these are not just names on a slide. There's really key advisors that help us day in and day out. As I was saying, data sovereignty is no longer just nice to have. It's something that's a must, not just because people want it, but because it's now part of the GDPR. It's going into effect with some new regulations this week. That has a lot of new requirements around health data, around identity data, income data. What YouBase is designed to do is help individuals manage that and take it around to different distributed applications. We all know why. It's 230 million psychological profiles have been created based on just your friends, family, friends and family data, not necessarily even on your own data. So the problem is decentralized data systems solve some of the aspects of this. And distributed ledger technology provides some of the answers to this, but neither of those work particularly well together. It's still difficult to build apps that combine Ether and Ethereum and IPFS, for example. So we've created a framework that allows for quicker development with self-sovereign data. The big value proposition for this and the architecture we've developed is that we imagine a world where people aren't just going to want to share coins or value. They want to share sentiment. And I believe that we're moving into a world where sentiments and how people feel about things are going to be tokenized at a very, very rich level. And that's going to become a lot of the basis for how we interact with technology and with each other going into the future. So the core technology that enables this is portable, persistent, and private life data across applications. Platform-independent personas, self-sovereign and blockchain-compatible data, and a new way to connect people in private data spaces. So the user, their profiles and personas, and the way that they care and feel about things. At the top level is based on BIP32 HD data. It's the HD wallet. We map different personas and different architectures onto that. So you could have your health profile, you could have your identity profile, you could have your social profile. And you can't really see it here, but along the bottom, the second step forward in this is being able to combine mutable, immutable, and transactionable data into one architecture. It makes it easier to build applications on. All of this is, you can build on with the tools that you already know, like JSON and document-based storage. The third part of that is something we're calling HD entanglement, which allows one user to have the public key of another user combined with that private key. So what that essentially means is I can share something, I can write to a space with that HD hierarchical architecture, and the other person can read it, and vice versa. So what this does is create a space, it could be messages, it could be tokens, where you always have an address, you always have a place to send things in this shared data space. And you can decide what parts of that you want to make public and what parts you prefer to keep private between the two entities. So that's the core technology, but to build a business, you need a product that can live on top of those and is differentiated by those. So our product that we're working on with Ideas by Nature, same group that has built Shapeshift and CoinCap, among several others, including Salt Lending. We've been working with them, building off the core libraries, Chrome extension and a persona and campaign dashboard. Just as a preview, this is what it looks like. On the left, you have different personas that people can create. You have different channels for different interests that they have and their social profiles and social net connections. But within that, they can create new campaigns, which are essentially new limited release tokens. You can think of non-fungible tokens versus widely fungible tokens. This is somewhere in the middle. It allows people who are not cryptographers or not Ethereum developers to create tokens for different causes and be able to create a marketplace for them. The Chrome extension then allows you to move around with these different personas and share the personas that you choose and share the tokens for different causes that you might want to support. So if you're on GitHub, you might want to support a different project, and you could purchase one of their tokens, or you could send them likes or dislikes or any other kind of different sentiment tokens. So as far as the size of this, I think this is small once we tokenize a lot of these different interactions. 300 billion is the projected crowdfunding size by 2025. 1.2 trillion is the combined market cap of Facebook with Google, and Amazon into that, right over $2 trillion in market cap, largely based on consumer data. We want to bring that same value back to the individual and allow them to share it how they want to. So the business model is based on crowdfunding and this sentiment economy where we'll do ongoing releases of sentiment-based tokens. YouBase will mint. And then depending on what data people choose to share, we can build data services and data insights around these different personas. With that, we'll have Josh come up.
So what I'm going to demo isn't our product that we're making, but an early attempt at making it with some of the existing technologies, so you can see some of the challenges building something with just existing blockchain like Ethereum, and why something like Toda and the data, the HD data and stuff that we're building is needed. This is showing on the screen there now is a blockchain that's running locally that emulates the time per block of the regular Ethereum network. You can see I have a balance there of 100 Ether starting out. It's blank, there's no transactions. And then, first of all, you have to deploy a contract. This is a simple cause supporting type of contract, very bare bones version. That one came up pretty quickly after you deploy it. This one you can create a new edge token, this example of heart. And that one also came up pretty quickly. And then create a new cause, say YouBase cause. And with this one, when we click on it, it takes a little bit longer for that transaction to be mined, because every time you do something, you have to interact with the blockchain, and that costs you money, and it takes time for it to mine. And so that took quite a bit there. Eventually it went through. And then you can check real quick there to see the balance. They have 0. The other limitation is that since you can't store much data on existing blockchains, you have to limit it to sessions and arrays and things like that to save on space. If we transcend some of that heart token to that cause, see it went through, we're able to transfer value. And then clear some of that out so you can see. And then now that went ahead and went through. Some of the challenges you can see here are for everything we did, from creating the contract to actually sending value, it required gas, which costs the user money. Anytime there's a transaction, anytime the state is changed, it will cost some value there. And in addition to what you're sending, so this top one here is the transaction, we're transferring value to the cause, but there's also this gas that was used. In this case, it was a lot more than we were actually sending them. And you see the gas used for every single thing. And overall, our balance went from 100 to went down 0.02 ether. So Ken just demonstrates some of the challenges, the main ones being the time it takes, which it's not just how long it takes for a transaction to go through, it's also the unpredictability of how long that will take. And there's also the cost, and you don't always know how much because each action costs different amounts, and that can add up very quickly to users. And also the amount of data you're able to store is pretty small, so it's very restricted. And that's the reason why the platform we're working on building combines the blockchain technology with other types of storage, off-chain storage, to make it really easy for people to make applications like we're trying to make in a more efficient and secure way.
So we just have a couple more slides, but that's pretty much it. So limitations, as we're showing there, Stereo applications on current chains are currently expensive and slow. Not only are they expensive and slow, but they're unpredictable. You don't know how much you're going to have to pay at any given point. Makes building a business around these applications extremely difficult as well. And the other piece of this is, once you share your data, you can't unsee it. So there's some privacy issues with that. So with Toda, quicker speed, more consistent confirmation, lower cost and lower variability, and ultimately being part of the network. Working with a team of other developers and other companies that can leverage our information and our platform, and widespread distribution for everybody. So I think phenomenal competitive advantage for all. That's it for.
Could you combine this with current social networks or platforms to be able to allow people to use actual functional models along with maintaining their own sovereignty over their data? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, that's part of the reason we're doing it in Chrome extension is one of the first implementations of the technology, so that you could go to your GitHub for example, and find a project that you like and support them that way directly through the sites that already have all the information. And we can layer things on top of it. So meta network, social network that spans all the others.
Can you use this for identity management in a similar way? So if I want to have different logins for different websites and I want them to be basically obfuscated or unique, can I use the same plugin extension mechanism?
Yeah, that's the exact idea.
Didn't hear the question. Do you mind?
She was asking if we can use different personas, identities across different sites, so you can control what that is. That is one of the main features where you have different personas. You can control the data in each one, and since that's controlled in the Chrome extension, the site doesn't have any access to it until you give permissions, and you just switch between them.
Yeah, it's a way for you to online ones. How much do you have to provide through the Chrome extension to Google in terms of user tracking data?
So the question was how much information you have to provide to Google. The Chrome extension Google doesn't have access to that data. Any site that wants to plug into our system in the Chrome extension would be able to do that, but it always asks for your permission to do it. So Google wouldn't have anything that you don't give them access to.
So on the identity thought, just a little bit more, if I utilize this and I have my token and I'm doing it through the Chrome extension, what's going to be required on the other side to be able to support this?
So the question was what's needed on the other, on each site to support the Chrome extension. Some things the Chrome extension won't require anything at all. If we support specific sites, like I gave the example of GitHub won't have to do anything. The extension will know it's on GitHub and look for that, or if you're on Facebook or YouTube, you're supporting different artists, you'll be able to do that directly through the extension without needing anything from those larger companies. As a developer, if I want to take fuller advantage, they can easily do that. They'll have access to the libraries in their page, and they'll be able to request information. So it's up to the site. So bigger companies probably will integrate very much initially, but we'll take care of that. And then smaller companies wanting to build things that are distributed, they'll have the tools needed to do that.
So you'll have to build the ecosystem either through yourself or through others that are participating in it?
Yeah, we'll be building out, the larger sites will build out the ecosystem ourselves a little bit to make it valuable from the beginning.
Sure.
And then smaller developers will have the tools, like I said.
And I will maintain control of the key?
Yeah, the user always controls the keys.
Sure.